except for the fact that we had an echo. All right, so we are going to try this again, and this time I did 100% ensure that we do not have an echo. So what we're going over tonight is how to build credit. Okay, we are going to have an advanced tutorial, but this one is specifically for beginners. Okay, we're going to go over 5 different types of credit and where you can start and where you can build to. You can't just wake up one day and say, hey, I want to get a mortgage, I want $500,000, even though I have negative items and a 400 credit score. No, there's a very specific way that we need to get there, and I'm going to give you some building blocks. Now, because we're live, I need to go and change some of my settings on here, but it is not going to take that long, and I gotta make sure that I turn off my system sound. All right, so very first thing that I want for you to do is to smash that like. It is free for me to give you this information, and it is free for you to step on that like and subscribe if you haven't done so. All right, so we are almost there, but while we are live, and this is a new thing, but while we are live, you can save 50% on my credit repair software, the Credit Suite, which literally does everything for you. Okay, so if you don't know, I am going to share that information with you. I will share a couple of things about it, and then we'll jump into what we're going over tonight, which is how to build credit for beginners. Now, again, we are going to have an advanced tutorial. This is not that one, but if you want to, I'm about to share my screen with you. If you do want to access my credit repair software, then you can save 50%, like I said, while we're live using Suite 50 at checkout. All right, and you are very simply going to go to, let me see if I can pull up a something on here that'll show you where you can go. So let's pull up good old Word. All right, I'm gonna give you the link right now. It is pretty simple, but I don't want to confuse you. So you are going to go to lynxshort.com/buy suite. Let's make that just a little bit bigger so you can see it. You know what? Let's make it a lot bigger than that. Okay, so you are going to go to this link, use Suite 50 to save 50%. So we are still in the beta phase, and because of that, it's only $129 per month. Now, that's actually my platinum level, all right? When I'm live, such as right now, you can save 50%. So you're only be paying $64.50, all right? And why is that awesome? Well, it's awesome because of everything that it has in it, all right? So you're definitely going to want to stay till the end of this because we have a lot packed into this, all right? But just so you know what is in the platinum level, you have 200 built-in dispute reasons, 200 built-in letters, unlimited clients, unlimited portals. You can add your own reasons, add your own letters. It has a full email messaging system, internal and external. We are halfway there on that one. You can import Identity IQ credit reports. We are working on Smart Credit and My Score IQ. You have an inaccuracies report, so you don't have to go and find all the inaccuracies on each account. It is super, super awesome. And it has all these other things that you can see on the screen right now. Okay, we're not going to go over every single one of them, but this is really, 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 really simple. If you need help either with your clients or, doing this for yourself, but you don't want to hire someone such as myself to do it for whatever reason, or you don't want to outsource, then this may be something that you want to invest in, especially right now when you can get it at $64.50. Okay. We also have an interactive demo right here, so you can see just how simple it is to add a client, import a report, or type it out manually, and then create a dispute letter. And you can literally pop one out in about a minute, okay? So we're gonna jump over into what we're talking about now, but again, that link is lynxshort.com/buy-suite, all right? And you'll find that coupon code right at the top of the screen. So if you missed yesterday's live, we went over something very, very, very important on how to remove virtually any account that you could possibly have on your credit report, right? And I'm talking about collections, charge-offs, repos, bankruptcies, you name it. If it's on your report, you can remove it. And I give you the hierarchy. I went over, the placement of the Agero formula and how to extract information from your credit report and put it into that formula. If you missed it, make sure that you go and watch that because you're going to learn, like I said, how to remove virtually any negative item. And we even have cheat sheets here, okay? So the hierarchy for dispute reasons, the hierarchy for so that one's the hierarchy for dispute reasons, and then we have the actual hierarchy, such as date less active, date less paid, notice dispute, so on and so forth. And then we have a another cheat sheet on here. Let me see if just zoom out just a little bit so that you can see it. Actually, I think we have to zoom in on that. Yes, we have to zoom in on it. And then we have the cheat sheet for letters, and that is what this is, okay? So you missed a lot if you were not there last night. Now, that is okay though, because you can still go back and watch it. All you have to do is go to my channel and go through my past lives. But let's jump over into building credit. Okay, now there's a lot on the screen here, and that is okay. We're not going to go over everything on here. Maybe in the other one, the more, involved, in-depth, advanced tutorial on how to build credit, but this one is on the nature of credit, okay? And it goes over like trust and confidence and fulfillment and moral rights and all that kind of stuff. We're not going through all that right now. We're going through the 5 different types of credit that you want, how to go from 0 to hero, and how to do it without giving up your entire life, and why this actually takes a little bit of time, okay? So we're going to use a mortgage as an example here, okay? So if you are trying to go for a mortgage, there's a couple of different things you're going to want on your credit report, right? So 5 different types of credit, and you obviously don't want any negatives. So if you need to learn how to remove those negatives from your credit report, then you're going to want to go through my 800 videos, because again, I've been doing this for 12 years. I've 8 documented years right here on YouTube. Okay, so do I know what I'm talking about? Yes, my proof of concept is absolutely 100% legit. I took a felon who, yes, paid his debt to society, don't hate, appreciate, whatever, okay? And we were able to remove the negatives, build up the credit file to the point where he was able to, in an 11-month period of time, get over $1.5 million in credit, okay? And yes, I'm talking about my husband, okay? And one day we'll go over that story, but that is not going to be tonight. Now, how did we get $1.5 million in credit? We took our time to apply for the things that we knew we were able to get. And it's not just, jumping into all these different loans and all that kind of stuff. No, there's a very, very, very specific way that we needed to do this. Okay, so, I'm not trying to sell you my life. I'm not trying to sell you on, how we got there. This is a thing. Like, I don't commercialize what I do. Everybody else wants to, sell you on their lifestyle and, oh, I can go take pictures in front of this and take pictures in front of that. That's never going to be me, because I sell realism, right? Realistic expectations. I'm not even selling them. I'm teaching you to have a different mindset. So we need to have our builder credit, our established credit, and then what I consider rewarding credit, right? Rewarding credit is where you can go and you can get your sky miles, you can, invest, and you can do all these other things that only credit allows you to do. And the way that I see it is that great credit, or good to great credit, is literally the gateway to wealth. And I'm not the only one that has said it. That was actually said a couple of years ago during the pandemic. It came out in an article somewhere. I used to have it, I showed you in a video back then. So if you want to find it, you can go back to my videos if you want to, but it's literally the door. So it just blows my mind when people think that you can just remove your negatives, get your credit, and wham bam, thank you ma'am, now we're fazillionaires. Dude, having good credit and having credit cards and having the ability to access loans doesn't give you a pay raise. You still make the same amount of money unless you increase that, right? So we have to have a plan on how to get there and how to maintain our credit. Otherwise, we're going to end up in the same spot that we're in now, with the lower credit scores, the higher APRs, and I'm telling you right now, there's no fast way to get there. So if we have a mortgage in mind, we already know we need a 740. We need no negatives. We need to have 5 different types of credit, and that is what they want to see. They don't want to see authorized user trade lines. Don't bother. They're not going to give you a house based on mom and dad's credit, or, Uncle Joe, or, your friend Sally. Dude, Don't go waste your time with authorized users. Build up your own file and then you'll be able to access these things, okay? So our 5 types are going to be merchandise, unsecured and secured revolving, installment, auto, and mortgage. Obviously, if you're going for your first mortgage, you're not going to have a mortgage, you're going to have 4 types. Now, you can technically say that unsecured and secured are 2 different if you want to, but the way that we would start this, let's say that you took what I teach you and you removed your negative items, right? Now we have a thin file. We have nothing on there. Okay, what is the very first thing that we're going to do? Well, I actually have a thing that kind of breaks down where we would start, okay? And I tried to make this a little bit bigger earlier, and for some reason, I'm not able to. So I'll just explain this if you cannot see it on the screen. And you know what? Let me check to see what the screen actually looks like right now. Well, you might be able to see part of it. Okay, so here's the deal. We need to start with something, okay? And a lot of the places that you can start, as long as you don't have bankruptcy, are going to be merchandise cards, catalogs, and online things like self-lender and kickoff and stuff like that. And even the credit builder card that's like $200. I wouldn't say get it unless you literally have nothing on your credit report. You have to start somewhere. And yes, those are secured. And with self-lender is something I 100% like absolutely believe in, because you start with an installment loan, you pay it back. Now you get your money back, right? Let's say $500 or whatever, you get your money back. Now you can have a secured card as well. And then your secured goes into unsecured. And then they give you like more frequent limit increases than anybody else, any other company that I know of. Okay, it's in smaller increments, but I mean it's still like, hey, I go and I log in, and a couple of weeks from now I can go and I can increase my limit, and I do it myself. I don't have to call them. There's no credit pulls or anything like that. So that is something that you may want to look into if you have a thin file. And like I said, there's other sites as well, or other companies as well, that do something like this. But that way you're going to have secured, unsecured, and installment. That takes care of 3 of those different types right there. Okay, so why wouldn't you take the couple of dollars and invest in it, right? Okay, so now let's say that we have those 3. All right, now we can go to a jewelry store. And at least here in New York, you can get a SEMA, which is actually not even based off your credit. It is based off of the amount of money that you have in your bank account, up to $5,000, okay? They are a little bit stingy, I would have to say, because even with $50,000 in your bank account, you might only get $2,300, but as long as you get that one, pay it off prior to, so you're not paying double the amount because of the interest. Now you can go back, and they're not even going to check your bank account. They're just going to give you about double the amount. So if you got 23 or something, maybe you'll get 4 or 5, 5 being their maximum. Now, while this may not seem like something that you can really capitalize off of, it allows you to invest in yourself in a way that you might not otherwise be able to because of your credit. Okay, there's other places that you can go, and there's other things that you could do, but jewelry is a good one to at least look at or look into, because it's another type of credit that goes on there. It looks good, and it's really easy to get. Now, I'm not saying go to K Jewelers. I'm not saying go to Zales. You want to go to like if you live in the Albany area in New York, you can go to Eden's, or you can go to I can't even think of the place at the Crossgates Mall that's downstairs by Best Buy. But anyways, they go through Progressive, and the one upstairs at Eden goes through Acima. They are both pretty similar. Progressive will report to your credit report much faster than Acima. But they're about the same as far as how much you can get. Okay, so now let's say that we have a jewelry line. Okay, and no, I'm not trying to drag this out, but I am trying to take my time and explain how this works so that you can take your notes. And like I said, this is for beginners. Okay, so now we have our 3 different types. We have a jewelry account, and now we want to go and apply for, with a little bit of time in between, self-lender and whatnot, and our first credit card, we want to go and apply for another card. Now, you can go for secured, such as Open Sky. If you are on the higher end of income, you might have a little bit of problems getting, approved, because they don't believe people make a lot of money these days. But like I literally had to go and back in 2019 just to get Open Sky. Like I literally had to submit a what do you call that, the previous year's tax form. Like it was just like, hey, you know what, I want a $15,000 card, regardless of whether it's secured or unsecured, because I'm trying to do awesome things with my credit. Why not, right? But they're like, well, we don't believe that you made $452,000 last year, so we would like to see that. I was like, oh, okay. I had to go get that form. I gave it to them, but it took about 60 days. So that's another thing where people think that, oh, like I said, you can just and now you have all this awesome credit. No, it takes time to get your first card, pay on it, or use it and then pay on it, have it post, use it, pay it, have it post, so on and so forth, right? Before you can even go and apply for something else. Now, one thing I did not include in here is about like the timing in between, because it really depends on where your personal credit scores are and what else you have on your credit report to be able to go and apply for this and then this and then this and this and this, right? So now we have a couple of secured, we have an installment loan, we have an unsecured card, and we have a jewelry account, and now we have our Open Sky. Now we can go and get an unsecured card, and my recommendation, I don't know how you feel about Capital One, but my recommendation is that you look into some of the Capital One and Credit One products, okay? Now, the reason that I'm not jumping straight to First Premier, even though it's on here under Merge Card, Self Lender, First Premier, First Progress, is because there's not many places you can go after First Premier, okay? Although you can get 2 accounts with them. However, with Capital One, they own all these other companies like Kohl's and Boscov's, so on and so forth, right? And they have a ton of different types of cards that you can get. So this is the reason why we have this in our workflow for obtaining credit, okay? So the first card that I would recommend getting if you don't start with secured would be the Capital One Journey. Okay, after Capital One Journey, you can go Capital One Platinum or Classic, or you can get both of them. And then under Platinum, like after you get the Journey and then you go Classic or Platinum, you can go to Kohl's because they're owned by Capital One. You can go to Boscov's because they're owned by Capital One. And in that same workflow, we also can go after that and get Macy's and Discover. Now, the key with Discover is that once you have Discover, other companies are going to give you the similar limit or just a little bit more than what Discover gives you, and that is why they are a key in this workflow. Okay, so with Discover, let's say they give you $3,000. Now you can go and apply for Mercury, and Mercury will give you exactly what Discover gives you. After you get that, you can go and get petal, like a flower petal, petal, and they'll give you a little bit more than what Discover gave you and than what Mercury gave you, okay? They're kind of newer. Their interface is very, 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 very limited. Like when you log in, it's not like logging into Credit One or Capital One or Discover. So I don't really know how I feel about them yet, but I don't pay them interest because I use my cards and I immediately pay them off, okay? So I don't really worry about limits on my cards, which are all over 15,000, because I use them and immediately pay them off, which means that I could obviously go higher than 15,000 or 20,000 or whatever if I wanted to, okay? That is something that we'll talk about a little bit later, but going over to the right, after you have Capital One Platinum, Kohl's, Discover, Macy's, and Boscov's, we can also look at the Capital One Quicksilver. And then we have, if you have a business and you can prove you have a business, we have Capital One Spark Classic for Business. Then you can go to Chase, then Bank of America, which is a lot harder to get, and then American Express. If you are successful in getting all of these on here, every single one of them, now you can apply for Wells Fargo, okay? In the beginning, many, many years ago, I had I don't know, maybe 10 different cards and, different accounts, and I was actually denied because I didn't have enough history to show for unsecured revolving, okay? So that's why I'm saying that you want to make sure that you have all these different things on there before you go and apply for certain places. Speaking of which, one thing that is going to really, 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 really help you with understanding where you can go and apply, to make sure that you actually get the credit is to understand who they report to and who they pull. So an example of this would be Synchrony Bank. Synchrony Bank owns Target and Walmart and all these other ones, right? Like the cards meaning. So they only pull TransUnion, but they report to all three bureaus, right? So if you go and you look up who does Synchrony Bank own, they're going to get a list of 25 to 30 different places, right? So as long as TransUnion is your highest or similar to your other two bureaus, and you're not applying for something astronomical, and Best Buy is also, I believe, in that list, then you'll be able to get approved for it, and that you're able to get these other things as well owned by Synchrony Bank. So this is one of the tactics to understanding what you can apply for and who you can go to, because it makes it so much easier when you are attempting to, apply for credit, right? So, now another thing that you want to keep in mind is, let's say that you want to get a vehicle, right? Because again, one of those different types of credit is auto, right? We want to have an auto loan, even if it's $5,000, even if it's $10,000. You need to make sure that you flesh that out and you get those different types of credit, okay? Now, one of the biggest things, and one of the things that people come to me all the time for, is inquiries from auto purchases, right? Auto financing. We've never personally had that problem because we can literally walk in and get a Hellcat or a Scat Pack. I've shown you some of my cars. Like, we never actually had that problem, but the majority of my clients who come to me with inquiry issues have that problem where they walked in, they didn't have, the credit to qualify for what they were looking for, and they ended up with all these inquiries regardless of whether they got the vehicle or not. Now, can you remove those inquiries? Yes. Is it a pain in the ass? Yes, it's a significant pain in the ass, right? So what we want to do is we want to have a realistic expectation of what amount, like how much we can actually get approved for, right? So don't be thinking Hellcat and the jailbreak, and that one is super awesome. Like, that's gonna be our next vehicle, because they're stopping like the whole Dodge line in 2024. So we're definitely hopping on that bandwagon. We already have a Challenger and two Chargers and Scat Pack and whatever. Anyways, so the whole point here is, if you know that you're in the 5s to 6s, don't be thinking of going in and getting a $20,000 car. You should be thinking 5 to 10. Now, can you get a vehicle at 5 to 10? Yes, but this is about sacrificing to ensure that you're not breaking your bank, you're not breaking your credit, and you're not putting yourself in a position to just get denied. Because if you don't have the income to qualify and you don't have the credit to qualify, then that's exactly what's going to happen when you walk in there and you're like, yeah, I want that $90,000, Hellcat. No, dude. No. No. I don't care how much you put down on that car, you're not going to get it, okay? And then you're going to be calling someone such as myself, and then you're going to be told, like, hey, inquiries cost a lot of money. I'm not going to point any fingers or anything or name any names, but there's companies out there that charge you just for inquiries alone, like $1,600, and we're not talking about any collections or charge-offs or anything. We're literally only talking about inquiries, so they can be expensive. I mean, it's a hard cost for me. That's why I separate my program into negative items and inquiries, right? So anywho, the way that you avoid getting all these inquiries racked up is to, like I said, going with realistic expectations, knowing, hey, I did the research. I know that I've got a 620, so I can probably get about 15 to 20,000 on a good day. I have $7,000 to put down, and I think that's pretty fair. So when you go in, they're going to put you through 2 banks or 3 banks at most, versus putting you through 19 banks, okay? We were never put through more than 2 banks, and I was easily able to get rid of the one that we didn't get. But I mean, the entire point here, and just so you know, we didn't get it because they put the name in incorrectly. They spelled Vargas incorrectly. Like, how do you spell Vargas incorrectly? But anyways, so it's just about realistic expectations. The same thing with getting a mortgage, right? So we're talking about, wanting to go get a house. And one thing, and I mentioned this like 2 days ago or yesterday maybe, one thing that we learned in the pandemic is that they being lenders, will give you a $500,000 loan on a house before they'll give you a $2,000 personal loan. Why do they do that? Well, it's pretty straightforward when you think of it from a lender's point of view, right? So if you have a million people who get $300 unsecured credit cards, or even secured credit cards, really, and they all don't pay them, now that's $300 million that they are basically losing, right? Because you're going to use it, you're not going to pay it, they're going to have to go after you. And who really wants to go after someone for $300? They don't. I mean, they're going to post on your credit, they're going to basically, screw you up that way. But otherwise, it's going to cost them more money to deal with it than it would, it would be to just leave it alone. But with a house, they can get their house back. With a car, they can get their car back, right? So sometimes you have to think about things from a lender's point of view, right? Same thing with, thinking that you can just dispute and the bureaus are going to remove stuff from your credit report because they want to help you. No, dude, you're not their main customer. The creditor is, the bank is, these companies are, okay? And we did talk about this a couple of years ago. I have a whole series on, the conflict of interest between, you disputing and them being the ones that investigate, even though they are the ones that make money off of your inaccurate information, because they don't care. More information is more money for them, right? We are going to talk about that again, though, because more and more and more and more every single day, every single week, I have people who come to me and they're just like, well, when I remove it from my credit report, why do I still have to pay for it? Dude, it doesn't disappear. It just gets deleted from a database. Like it's like when a company takes down their website, the company doesn't disappear, right? It just gets deleted from Google. Like it's a database. We're talking about databases here. So yeah, when you remove something from your credit report, dude, you're still gonna have to pay for it, okay? So um now, is it impossible to get a mortgage? No, it's not impossible to get a mortgage. But when you go, you want to make certain that you have as close to a 740 as you possibly can get. Like literally as close to a 740 as you possibly can get. Like the closer, the better, okay? Another thing is go with 0 negative items. You need to take the time to dispute correctly, remove those negatives permanently, and then go and get your pre-approval, right? And I'm not talking about just sweeping them under the rug temporarily for 30 days. No, 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 no. We need a permanent deletion, and that is going to take you time. Then your mortgage process is going to take you time, unless you live in Vegas where, they literally get those things through in like 30 days versus 45 to 60 in places like New York, okay? So, and you also have a significantly lower down payment, 5% versus 20%, and your closing costs are only like 1465 as a flat fee versus 3 to 5%. So market is absolutely psychotic in Las Vegas, but there's no place like Vegas, okay? Again, conversation for a different day. So when you have your 740, when you have 0 negative items, when you have your 5 different types of credit, now you are, I don't want to say virtually guaranteed, but you are like as close as you could possibly get to having like the perfect credit file for them to be like, hey, absolutely, we're going to give you a 3% interest rate or a 4% interest rate. And, you might only have a 5 or 10%, down payment, and, you might be qualified for whatever amount that you wanted to, like, we were qualified for a $3.5 million loan. Like, so, I mean, everything comes down to the amount of money that you have and your credit score, okay? So, and then again, that all goes back to realistic expectations. Dude, don't call me telling me that you want to remove your negative items in 60 days and get qualified for millions of dollars. I don't care if we're talking about a mortgage. I don't care if we're talking about an auto. I don't care if we're talking about, loans. I don't care if we're talking about credit cards. Like, it's not happening. There's no 7-day process. There's no 14-day process. There's no 60-day process. And the bureaus are there to keep this information on your credit report. It is not to remove it. It is not to help you. It's not to help you scam, the system into, giving you more credit and, sweeping it under the carpet so that other people don't know that you screwed up, okay? That's not how this works. And anybody who tells you otherwise is literally just trying to get into your pocket, and that is never going to be me, Okay, so speaking of which, if you need help fixing your credit, the link has been on the screen this entire time. You can head over to my740.com, schedule a call with me. I will see if I can help. Okay, so I think that is going to be it for tonight. I can't really see on my software how long I've been live, but I'm assuming it's been a little while. Okay, so I will keep it up on let's go pull that back up. So if we go back over here, I will keep this link up with the coupon code, which is SWEET50, as in SWITE50. That will allow you to save 50% on my credit repair software. So if you want to check that out, head over to that link, even if you just want to see it. It's not like you have to pay as soon as you get to the page. There's videos, there's an interactive tutorial, and it literally does everything for you except for barbecue, okay? And why do I say that? Because I used to sell Kirby vacuums door to door, and that's what I used to say. That's what I that was like one of my closing lines. You know, if you want a vacuum that does everything literally for you except for barbecue, then hey, this is the deal. You know, it's only $2,500. And that's another thing. Like, I know what it takes to close you guys. Like, I know what it takes to get to, have you push buttons and, buy from me. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm not selling a lifestyle. I'm not selling you my life. I'm not doing any of those things. What I do is sell a mindset, and you have to have realistic expectations. So I'm never going to be that person that is going to tell you that it's as simple as, 30 days, your life is going to change, your negative items are going to be off, and, that's it. That's never, ever, ever going to be me. And some people hate me for it. They hate me because, I tell you the truth, and I can't, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I really don't care because, you know what? Again, 8 documented years proving to you that when you do this and you do this right, then, you can get where you need to be, right? But it's not an overnight process, okay? Everybody wants to go believe everybody else, and then they come back to me in 5 years and say, hey, Kristen, you were absolutely right about this, and, I should have signed up 5 years ago, right? And at that time, sometimes I can't help you because you already did this, that, and the third, and the longer you dispute, the harder it is to remove those negative items, okay? So if you want to remove your negative items the right way, go over to my channel, which is youtube.com/ask-kristen. Check out my 800 videos, and I promise you, you will learn something. Now, if you learned anything tonight, smash that like. Subscribe if you haven't done so. It's free for me to take this time. Technically, it's not because I have clients and I have a family, but it's free for me to take this time to invest in you so that you can learn to do things the right way, like remove negative items and build your credit and, move on with your life. Just the same as it is for you to smash the like and subscribe if you have not done so, all right? So, it ain't gonna hurt anyone, and fair exchange is not considered robbery. What do I mean by that? It means that I give you stuff that nobody else does. I teach you stuff that nobody else does. And what you could do for me is let Google know that you enjoy my content, all right? So I'm going to end this. I hope you have a great evening. And if you want to submit your questions for my next live Q&A for credit sweeps, go to any of my other videos and post it down in the comments after you smash the like. If it goes with the topic that I will be doing at that time, I will include it in my life. All right. So if you have questions about building your credit and maybe even some more advanced things like what you can do after you have these, little established ones, then let me know, like I said, by posting it as a comment. All right. I think that is it. Oh, as a last note here, okay, this stuff only lives on YouTube. This stuff only exists on YouTube, but like I said, there's no fast way to do anything. And I've been proving to you that this takes time, and when you do it the right way, you can get where you need to go. And when I created my program, I created it from the consumer's point of view, by giving you the copies of the disputes and disputing all the negative items every single round, allowing you to pay with debit or credit. And don't take this the wrong way, because I was a consumer as well, but I'm the one as a business, that takes on 100% of the risk because I'm allowing you, the consumer who doesn't pay their bills, to pay with debit or credit, and I don't lock you in, right? So obviously that means that not only do I actually have to render the service, but again, I am the one that takes on all the risk. Why am I saying this? Well, I am saying this because there's always going to be haters, right? And I think it is funny, we'll use the word funny, that it's not the people who pay me $25,000 a year for my mastermind that ever say anything about me. It's the people who pay $100 or $139 that want things that they don't pay for, and that want to talk shit. Okay, well, what I would like to say is, if I were a scammer, I wouldn't be scamming you for $139, right? Let's just be real about it, right? One adult to another. I wouldn't be scamming you for $139. Another thing is as a person who has a merchant account specifically for credit repair, we are audited every 3 months or so, right? So that means that even one little slip up can make it so that I no longer can process debit or credit transactions. So obviously I'm doing the right thing. I why do I feel like I have to say this? Well, because all it takes is one person to say the wrong thing, and then people believe it. And again, if I were doing the wrong thing, then I wouldn't be allowed to do what I do. I work with sensitive, confidential information. I work with credit reports and identification and social security numbers. So if you think that your federal government is going to allow someone to continue for 12 years to do the wrong thing and award them every single year since 2015 as best debt relief services, then you're probably living in the wrong country, if that's how you feel. Okay. It kind of makes it impossible when there's only 3 companies in the nation that give you copies of the disputes and proof of services, and I'm one of those 3. So what does that mean? It means that people are just bitching because they want shit that they didn't pay for, right? Again, let's just be real about it. So anywho, that is it for tonight. If you actually want a company who is for the people, my people, who actually give you the copies of the disputes and dispute all your negative items and use custom disputes instead of sending out the same thing for literally every single person in their program, then hit me up on that link that you see on your screen. Okay, so there is light at the end of this long ass tunnel with removing things from your credit report, but you gotta do it the right way, because hello, they're talking about meetings on famine. We have, like I told you the other day, it took me $250 to fill my gas tank. Inflation, hello, things are getting harder, they are not getting easier. There's more than 68 million people with bad credit. So with all of those places that have these overnight fixes, yeah, maybe they have a lot of views, but those people continue to come back because they didn't find what they're looking for, right? Because it doesn't exist. If it did, trust and believe, as a business owner, I'd give it to you. I'd have no problem putting a price tag on it, and we would call it a day, right? But it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, and I've been proving to you that it doesn't exist. But there is the right way to do it, and it is going to take you, depending on what you have, either 6 to 8 months or 9 to 12. There's no way around it. You can either do it the right way, or you can, wait 7.5 years after you stop paying your, your cards and your accounts and whatnot. Or you can do it the wrong way and go to a company that's going to force you to give up your basic rights as a consumer to not, to see what you're paying for, right? Or to have you falsify documents just to get them paid. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm talking about where, like I said about the merchant account, right? Where you don't get a receipt for a credit repair. It says something like services as discussed, or you're buying jeans instead of credit repair. Or they're making you call a company and say, hey, I bought photography from, John or Jane, okay? No. No. If it doesn't say credit repair, don't. Just don't, okay? Anyways, I'm going to stop rambling about this because I already know that there's going to be some hater that says something about my rambling, but guess what? You're on my channel and I can talk about what I want on my channel. So if you want to learn more about the credit building, let me know using the comments. If you want to learn more about specifically removing certain things or using a certain method for those certain things, like removing late payments on a student loan or removing bankruptcies that have been disputed 800 times, then let me know by using the comments. That's the only way that I personally know what you specifically need help with, by you telling me. I am not a mind reader, okay? So that is it. I'm going to stop now. I hope you have a great one. And I will leave the Credit Suite coupon up, Suite 50, for a little while, maybe let's call it midnight. So you have an hour and 38 minutes if you want to access it. All right. Okay. So I hope you have a great one. And I am going to get going now. Bye.